Welcome to Vacuum Wars, and to our best budget robot vacuum video for 2023. If you want to buy a robot vacuum, but you don't need all the fancy features that can drive up the cost, then you're in the right place. We've tested most of the popular budget robot vacuums over the years and have collected a lot of information that we think will help you make a decision on which one, if any, to buy. So links in the description, and let's get started. I think it's important to start out with a brief history lesson, but feel free to skip ahead to the part where I make the actual recommendations if this part doesn't interest you. In the beginning, robot vacuums were all pretty much the same. They had one or two spinning brush rolls on the bottom, a side brush, a bump sensor, cliff detection sensors, and usually some infrared wall sensors on the front. They also all had the same basic but effective algorithm in which they bounced around your house more or less randomly. They didn't make a map, so they would just continue until their battery reached about 10%, then they automatically returned to their charging dock. Over the years, something interesting happened. While manufacturers started adding cameras and lasers and mops and auto-empty bins to robot vacuums, their original models, what we now think of as budget models, just kept selling as much or more as they ever did. The only difference was that their price had now dropped considerably. The thing is that the basic budget robot vacuum design is kind of a minimally viable product, which is really difficult to add or subtract to. It's the perfect amount of machine to effectively do the job of vacuuming your hard floors and carpets. You can have more, but you can't really have less. What that means is that it's really hard for new manufacturers to break into the budget robot vacuum market. They really can't offer anything new to the design without spending money and driving up the cost. It also means that the biggest manufacturers like iRobot, Eufy, Shark, and Ecovacs have a massive advantage over smaller companies in the budget robot vacuum space because they can place large manufacturing orders and thus reduce their costs much more than a small company that only places small manufacturing orders can. The number of truly good competitors in the budget robot vacuum space has actually dwindled over time. For example, the Roomba 600 series and the Eufy 11S used to fight it out with the Dbot N79S for years, but for some reason Ecovacs discontinued the N79S and replaced it with the Dbot 500, which was a downgrade, and Ecovacs lost its foothold in the budget world. Really, the only newcomer in recent years has been Shark, who has deep pockets for manufacturing, and their AV700 series entered this exclusive club a few years ago. Now, with all that said, let's begin our competition. I consider a budget robot vacuum to be under $250, though a few that I will recommend later are quite a bit cheaper than that. I will not be including some of the most popular budget robots in recent years, like the OKP brand and the iLife V3S. Those sell really well because they are super cheap, but they don't have a brush roll, only a suction port on the bottom, so they can't be used for most carpets and aren't even that good for hard floors. So despite having reviewed many models over the years, this competition will really only be between three models. The Roomba 600 series, like the 694 or 692, the Eufy RoboVac 11S Slim, and the Shark AV700 series like the AV752 pictured here. All three of these are similar in a few ways. For example, they all navigate using the standard random navigation that I mentioned earlier. They all have spinning brush rolls and can be used on hard floors or carpets, and they're all very similar and very good at their basic job of sweeping up debris from the surfaces of hard floors and carpets. Looking at their specs and features, we start to notice some differences. For example, the official battery life numbers range from 90 minutes on the Roomba 600 series to 120 minutes on the Shark AV700 series. The Eufy and the Roomba both have features that make them more adaptive to dirty floors. For example, the Eufy 11S has Boost IQ, which is where it will boost its suction power when it detects carpets for a deeper clean. And the Roomba has Dirt Detect, where it uses a particle sensor to detect dirtier floors, and then it goes back over those areas for a deeper clean. Of the two systems, the Roomba's Dirt Detect is more accurate and useful in my opinion, and the Shark does not have a similar feature. Another huge difference between them is Wi-Fi capability and smartphone apps. Both the Roomba and the Shark have Wi-Fi options, but the Eufy does not. Instead, it has a physical remote control. You can just push the button on top of any of these robots to start them, but the app really does make it a better experience because you can operate the robot from anywhere with your phone. You can get alerts and such if it's stuck, and it makes programming a cleaning schedule much easier than with the remote control on the Eufy. It should be noted that there are some Roomba 600 series models, like the 614, which do not have Wi-Fi capability, and are a bit cheaper because of it. Because the Roomba 600 series and Eufy 11S have been best sellers for so many years, they have another advantage over the Shark that you might not think about, which is that there are way more parts available for them online. The advantage here really goes to the Roomba though, because you can pretty much buy any component for a Roomba 600 series online, and they're all mostly interchangeable with one another, so it makes it much more likely that your Roomba 600 series will last long into the future, which is a really big value add. As far as navigation and algorithm issues, we tested this recently in our new course, where we run them on a set floor plan and try to gauge how much area they are covering in a set amount of time. And we found that both the Roomba 600 series and Eufy 11S were pretty similar in terms of navigation efficiency and overall coverage. They weren't as fast as robots with cameras or LiDAR, but they got the job done with near 100% coverage of our roughly 340 square foot area with plenty of battery life to spare. The main takeaway here was that the Shark, though it had a much longer battery life, had less success with coverage. Now, the nature of these robots is that they are random, so it may have been different if we did more test runs with the Shark, but it didn't cover as well as the others despite spending more time trying in the one run that we did track. Moving on to performance tests, with airflow and suction, the Eufy did better by a small amount, and the Eufy also did better with things like the crevice pickup test, but the Roomba 600 series with its 2 brush rolls and adjusting brush housing did the best with things like carpet deep cleaning, followed by the Shark and then the Eufy in last place. So what does all this mean, and which one of these is right for you? I would say that the Roomba 600 series with Wi-Fi like the 694 or 692 is a better robot vacuum in almost every respect than the other two. It has better features, it's a better cleaner, it has a better algorithm, a better app, and better parts availability. The only downside is that it's usually a bit more expensive than the other two as well. The Eufy 11S is an incredibly good robot vacuum for the price, and it's usually way cheaper than the Roomba. It's been copied a million times because it is so good, but its lack of an app is a pretty big downside. The Shark, despite being good enough to make this final 3, doesn't really challenge the other two. So the Roomba 600 series is the better machine. I'll try to keep our link below to the Roomba 600 series always updated with the current best deal for a Roomba 600 series with Wi-Fi. But if you get a Eufy 11S, you can rest easy knowing that you have the second best option of pretty much any other robot vacuum in this price range. Links in the description, and be sure to subscribe to Vacuum Wars before you leave. Thanks for watching.